Hello friends, it's me, and today let's watch What's Next for Indie Horror featuring JTM, SuperHorrorBro, UniqueGeese, and more from the game tiers. Together, let's go, let's start. Thank you. So, before we begin, I'm so sorry. This is a live stream that's like 2 hours long, 1 hour and 57 minutes, but 2 hours long, plus my commentary, my reaction is gonna be 2.5 hours long. It's practically a movie. I'm sorry. So sorry. My deepest apologies. Please forgive me. Let's begin. Okay, so if I'm not wrong, the first 4 minutes of this video is going to be stream starting soon. You can go ahead and go do something else. 4 minutes mark, come back. Thank you so much. Right now it's at the 1 minute mark, so see you in 3 minutes. Take care, man. I got some snacks here and there. Nuggets, some tea, more tea. So iced tea, completely frozen. Okay, I'm gonna show you. Okay, completely frozen iced tea. Just you can see the mic I hit, and then this is semi-solid. Semi-solid iced tea. And then this is liquid tea iced tea. All three are whole. This liquid tea iced tea. I'll be here for like 2.5 hours, so get prepared. Right now it's 2:31 AM on the 21st. Sorry. Right now it's 2:31 AM on the 12th of January 2026. On time. Right now it's 2:31 AM on the 12th of January 2026. Some nuggets. 5 nuggets to be exact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. After that is some Subway. Eat fresh. Went to a family trip with family, my father, my mother, my brother, me. It's cheap, significantly cheaper than. Yeah. All veggie. Oh, fun fact. I kid you not. We went to shopping mall, right? So we went to purchase some standard stuff, baby diaper, baby shampoo, so on and so forth. But guess what? The baby shampoo is not for the baby only. It's for me as well because I use baby shampoo. I noticed that my hair starts to, not do well except for some certain brands of adult shampoo. And the adult shampoo is quite expensive in comparison to the baby shampoo. The baby shampoo works well for me because during COVID, my hair was falling off. I tried different shampoo, it doesn't work. Then I tried baby shampoo, it worked. So baby shampoo is, and also it's cheaper because it's for baby, so it's significantly cheaper. It's cheaper and it's useful and it helps. Okay, the adult shampoo doesn't really help. So yeah, we also went there to buy some tidbits here and there to eat. The thing about it is, I purchased. Okay, so at the start of the year, I purchased these cartons in Singapore of soft drinks. 24 packs. Okay, 4 times 6 of 250 milliliters of packet drinks. It cost me like nearly $10. When I go there, it's like 12 ringgit, which is like $3. $3 in SGD, around there, plus minus. Gosh, I was like $4. If I purchase it in Malaysia, it'll be 50% cheaper. Why? It's more than 50% cheaper. Same items. Well, yeah. You might be thinking, but you still have to carry it. I know, but I got right. Okay, anyways, let's start.
Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that always wants to look at games on a deeper level.
Hello Internet! Welcome to Game Theory. Hello. Let's begin. Let's start.
Brought to you by our wonderful partners at GamerSupps. You can get GamerSupps at gamersupps.gg/Game Theory, 10% off if you use code Game Theory. But we're doing something a little different today. We are going to be looking at games a little deeper, but in a new way. Obviously, we're live, which is not something we usually do. But we're also going to be handling this live slightly differently. Normally, when we've done these lives before, we have gathered theorists from across the FNAF space in order to discuss the latest FNAF game, the theories, and of course, its lore. But as you may have seen today, I hope you've all watched the game theory and that's where you've all come from. If you haven't, we've been doing an episode on the FNAF 4 box and specifically how Scott tackles storytelling within these games. And as I was researching that and as I was writing that script, because it's been in the works for a good long time now, I realized that there was so much about game development I didn't know or understand or didn't have first-hand experience in. It can be very easy for us all to look at the story and talk about, oh, the story here is weak, or we love the story and the hidden lore here. But actually, there's so much more that goes into making that than just being a good or a bad storyteller.
Exactly. 当局者迷，旁观者清, or 近朱者墨，近墨者黑. Something like that. In which it's easy to point fingers when it's not you being fully responsible. You are just a spectator, you are just a passerby, you are just an audience, you are just a viewer. You are just a gamer. You are not the main developer. You are not the one that is carrying the full load, shouldering the full responsibility of it, the full accountability of it. It's easy for us, the gamers, to point fingers. You could have done this better, you could have done that better. Room for improvements. Tom makes a very good point in a very light and gentle and comforting way. Thank you so much, Tom. I think I need to improve on myself. I'm so sorry.
So many other compromises and other technical challenges you have to face. So today I wanted us to fix that knowledge gap for you and for me as well. And so I decided to invite people from the YouTube space who, like me, work in the indie horror world, but have since decided to go on to become game developers themselves. Creators who I'm sure you all know. Can we cut to them? Say hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
I've got nothing from them in my ears, just so you know.
I'll fix it.
Cool. But let's go around. Thanks, guys, so much for coming. I so appreciate you being here. Why don't we just go around the room and introduce ourselves? Mike, go for it, my friend.
Hey everyone, my name is Mike, also known as SuperHorrorBro on YouTube, and I...
Hello, superhero. Oh, superhero. Hello, super horror bro. Hello, okay, hello friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another every Singaporeans and I'm gonna do it for every single one of them. Believe me.
I've been on YouTube for about 9 years, just over, making various kind of videos on a range of different horror games. I sort of do Let's Plays and also deep dives into lore, so I do story explain videos and monsters explain videos, stuff like that. And then in 2021, I started work on my first game project, which is called
5 years ago.
Out. It's available on Steam right now, and it's free to play if you want to check it out.
When he said 2021, to me it's 5 years ago, but to him it's probably 4 years ago because this was from 2025. So, yeah.
Finished work on that game in December 2023, and I decided not to continue it anymore after that. But I'm here to talk about my experience making that game and where my future projects may go in terms of game development too. So thank you for having me on Game Theory.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I hope that was an okay intro.
Yeah, no. More than okay. You're totally fine.
Let's be honest, the first person that introduces, the first person that does it is always the one that is more nerve-wracking. Yeah. More anxious, more stage fright.
John, over to you, friend.
Yeah, sure. So I'm John or Pat fan on JT Music.
Hello, JT Music. Hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another every Singaporeans. Hello. Hi.
I run JT Music with one of my best friends, Christian, Skullcruncher13. We've been doing YouTube since 2008, so pushing 20 years here in a couple years. Yeah, but we make nerdcore music. We've done everything from Call of Duty, Halo, Overwatch, Minecraft, all the way to all the indie horror staples. Obviously with like FNAF and Bendy, and then some other kind of fun projects like Cuphead, to the Undertale, all that. So that's what we do. We've been doing it for a while. That's what we kind of our main thing is making music videos, original songs. Yeah, and then our game, Terrible Lizards, we will be dropping the kind of teaser trailer today. So there hasn't been a lot of better game, but Terrible Lizards is a first-person platforming horror dinosaur game to kind of throw it together. And we've been working on that for about 2.5 years now. And so we're hoping to stay on schedule and launch it like late summer 2026.
Wonderful. Hey everyone, my name is Mason, or UniqueGeese. I am the creator of Indigo Park, but I've been...
Hello, UniqueGeese. Hello from Singapore. I'm sorry. Hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another every Singaporeans. Hello. Hello.
doing YouTube and streaming for about 6 years now, covering everything from indie horror games, notably Friday Night Funkin' if you come from that community. And we've moved forward into creating our own game, Indigo Park. It's a first-person exploration game where you break into an abandoned theme park and beat the park's virtual assistant, Rambly the Raccoon. Chapter 2 is currently in development, and Chapter 1 is available for free on Steam, so go check it out if you haven't already.
Horoscoped, over to you.
Hello, hello. I'm Horoscoped.
Hello. Hello, Horoscope. Hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another every Singaporeans. Hello.
been on YouTube for 11 years, I think. It's been quite a while, covering things from Nintendo games to horror games, which is now my main thing. Alongside that, I also did indie development. So obviously I'm here for that. With Zardy's Maze was the first game we made, which was in 2020. And then we had Zardy's Cave Chapter 1 come out in 2024. Also today, you're going to be hearing about Fall of Zarada, which is a sort of an expansion of that universe. We have these indie games that we made, and now this is the sort of the story behind it. So, or the story that's been sort of like breadcrumbs up to this point. A more cohesive look at that world. So yeah, I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to share the knowledge I've learned along this journey with all of you.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Cool. What's up, everybody? My name is Rocket from Rocket Music.
Hello, Rocket Music. Hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I'm just another every Singaporeans. Hello. Hi.
We're a duo, a nerdcore duo. My other half, Vinny or Ghostlike. We make up Rocket Music. We've been creating nerdcore music since 2015 under this name. I've had a couple different other pseudonyms.
So a decade, I guess. A decade. Much respect.
And bands across the way in the nerdcore space, going back to 2008. So I've known the JT Music guys all the way back when, before YouTube was even a means of a career. So we've been doing this for a really long time. We primarily focus on indie horror themed music, but we've also dabbled in pretty much everything in anything at this point. But along the way, a couple years ago, back in 2022, I started had the grand idea of making a video game, which we'll definitely talk more about. But that's where Don't Fret came in. So Don't Fret is it's a story-driven psychological horror game where you play as a guitar trapped in a school. The
game series did a video about it.
We'll get more into that in a little bit. The demo is out now if you guys want to check it out. Of course, wish lists are always appreciated. So we'll talk more about what's to come on development with that.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you guys so much for coming today. It really means a lot to me, and I'm sure I can see the chat is very, very excited to have you all here and to get into the meat of this. So,
once again, thank you all so much. Thank you. A sincere greeting and salutation to everyone. Hello, friends. Hello from Singapore. I'm Humdrum Singaporeans. I am just another every Singaporeans. Hello. Welcome. Hello.
let's start with a softball. We'll start with a softer question, which is just, what was it that made you decide to go into game development? What like, you know, you guys all started, as you said, doing explainers and theories and doing let's plays and streams or music. What was it that made you decide to go from being YouTube content creators into game developers? And
that is a good question. That is a good leading question to begin this entire conversation. It's a good leading question to initiate what is the core origin, so that you don't forget the start of the first steps. That's saying in Chinese, 不忘初心. Don't forget the original heart.
anyone, feel free to just jump in as and when.
Right. Well, I'll start, I guess. So we're going
Please.
round and
Thank
just say that I actually originally didn't really have dreams of being a YouTuber. My original dream when I got out of university was to be a writer and a filmmaker, and I used to make short films, and I'd write as much as I could anywhere I could. And so then when I got into YouTube, because I had editing experience and stuff, and I liked to write, and I kind of wrote story explain videos, it was like a natural evolution, but I got to create my own stuff and eventually make a living off it. So it was very exciting. And then game development, because I've been a fan of video games since I was like a small child, and I've always grown up loving video games. It just seemed like it's kind of like filmmaking, but it's a way to make an interactive movie almost, especially if it's a story-heavy game, where the player actually gets to experience, you know, your vision and play through it and interact with everything about the world. And that was hugely exciting to me. So it was almost like a natural evolution, the same way YouTube was when I didn't get into filmmaking and manage a career there. It was kind of like another step in a closer direction to filmmaking, but of course something I'd always had a passion about, which of course was video games. And having a hand in making Glitched Out, where I wrote it and directed it and did most of the art assets on that game and designed it. It was kind of a way to see like something that I had made come to life, but of course we had an amazing team that helped me get to the finish line there. So I guess that was kind of my inspirations for getting into game development.
And I think that is quite rewarding and valuable to see that whatever you have poured your heart into becomes successful and people actually enjoy it and be thankful about it. It's nice. Thank you.
In the first place, it started with a love of video games, then a love for creating, like writing and directing, and eventually wanting to take it, like combine the two and get to the finish line where we got to, making games.
Thank you.
Yeah, similar there. Just, I mean, I think we're all here because of love of video games. So, like,
Yep.
I've always loved video games. I've always been a fan of the process and what's gone into kind of making video games. I've always kind of consumed everything I could, kind of, you know, early on about behind the scenes, like how things like came together, devlogs, all this kind of stuff, and it just fascinated me. And you know, eventually, you know, we decided like let's do this. I think in 2015 we made like 1 year, 3, 5, 10-year kind of goals, me and Christian, and then and the 10-year one was make a video game. And that's just part of like we always like to do new things, try different kind of side projects. You know, we always have the music videos, but we're always trying to kind of mix it up, keep it interesting, create something different, and challenge ourselves that way. So, you know, it's kind of a combination of always being interested in video games, the process, and then, you know, it was a goal that we wanted to hit, and you know, we had the means to do it because, you know, there is a lot of time and resources that go into it, so there has to be a lot of good timing with it. And you know, we kind of hit a good place where, you know, we could dedicate resources to it, and we went for it. That's, you know, it came from always wanting to do it, you know, and then kind of pulling the trigger.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah. I think for me, I've always had that drive and desire to work on a game, but it felt out of reach for the longest time. So I ended up going to school for graphic design and doing YouTube on the side to kind of fund that college experience. When Garden of Banban came out, I kind of challenged myself within a week to try to make my own version of their first chapter. And I made a YouTube video about it. Ended up being my biggest video at the time. And that led to the creation of what we now know as Indigo Park, just for wanting to make something of my own. So it's kind of a combination of always having the desire, feeling the drive through creativity with graphic design, and as well as being given the opportunity by an amazing fan base who wanted to see us make something original and unique.
Thank you. Makes a very good point. The fan base, the communities. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think as a introvert who grew up in the middle of farm country, it's no surprise that later in life I make a game based on the corn maze. But actually, that situation is what kind of drew me to my love of gaming, is because games could take me to places that I could not go in real life. Everything around me was just farms, so it's like you could visit the ocean in a video game, or you could have a experience with your brothers in places you couldn't actually go to. And so for me, my love of gaming stemmed from there. And my first game project actually was a Kirby RPG that I made in RPG Maker.
Cool.
I did everything in it, from all the artwork to creating a custom battle system to custom menu system. And that kind of stemmed me over to more of the technical stuff. And then fast forward, I got into YouTube, which was something that I always wanted to do. And I was always watching from the sidelines thinking like, oh, it's too late to start. Oh, it's too late to start. And I think my YouTube journey and my game dev journey are both equal, because and similar to what Mike said earlier, I originally came from the world.
Look, it's never too late. When there's life, there's hope. As long as there's life, there's hope. The passion is always there.
Of film. I also was a writer. I started, the first thing I ever did creatively was start writing my story about Zardy. And so it was in a written format long back. This is 2013 is when I started that. And it was, I felt like I needed YouTube also alongside that to, one, make a career out of it, because I was too scared to put my work out into the world. And then I think I built confidence through YouTube. And then as I got more confident, then I got into the game development aspect. And that's like, this would be a great way to share that story that I have with people, but also create something based off of, I think, something that a lot of us in this were inspired by, which was FNAF. Five Nights at Freddy's. There was nothing quite like sitting through Five Nights at Freddy's 1, 2, and 3 when the internet didn't know what was coming next. I just remember the internet collectively losing their minds when Markiplier was like, wait, we can punch in the tiles on the wall and it's a phone number and it takes us to the secret cutscene or something. Like, stuff like that was like showing like the power of indie games. I think was a huge inspiration for me, because I loved it. I wasn't even making stuff on YouTube again yet, but that was something that drew me into it and then led to Zardy's Maze and now Zardy's Cave today.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Cool. I'll round us out here. So, for me, I grew up doing a ton of creative writing. I'm a terrible writer, and my stories were not that great. But my mind, my friends, and my family will tell you, really doesn't stop. And music has been such a wonderful outlet, especially making week after week after week. 500 songs over the past 10 years. Right? It's mind-boggling, but in between that, my creative energy doesn't stop. And so I have always wanted to make a movie, and I unfortunately decided to make a game before that. And I will tell anybody who wants to pick one or two of those, making a movie would be 100,000 times easier than a game. So I should have gone the other direction, but no, it's been wonderful.
So, game theorists, film theorists, which one is more difficult?
Well, I have no business.
Okay, look, I should have said that. I'm so sorry. I should have made the comparisons. I believe that there's 各有千秋. There is to each their own. There's beauty in each of them respectively.
Making a video game, I feel like imposter syndrome is so real. I'm sure to some capacity, I don't want to speak for anybody here, but I just feel like I don't know what I'm doing at every step of the way, but it's somehow working itself out. And my last piece I'll touch on is Don't Fret actually started as a children's book that I was writing for my daughter when she was born. And it was just a means for me to express myself creatively outside of music. And it was about a guitar looking, he woke up in a music school and kind of was looking for all of his different family of instruments, and I was gonna teach children about the different instruments, and then I woke up, I guess, the next day and said, no, I'm gonna make a horror game out of it. But somehow it somehow turned into that. But yeah, that's how this has started for me.
I love hearing all of these stories, because I think it's so important to recognize that, like, everyone here has come from a very, very different place. Both in starting your YouTube journeys and in starting game development, where, as you said, like, I too went to school for like film and writing. So again, like, I totally empathize with Horoscopes and Mike on that, and then suddenly YouTube becoming an outlet for that, but also just, all of us, well, all of you guys, more to the point, have these stories to tell. And so you've just sort of, bitten the bullet. You've just gone, right, I'm going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. And I think that's so inspiring. And I think there's a lot of people in the chat who will absolutely relate to that, which is so awesome. And again, Rocket, what you were saying about the imposter syndrome, I think, again, like, I'm sure we've all felt that at different points, even if it's not for these games, it's for what we do on YouTube or for any of these things. There's a sense of, again, I'm trying to relate, but obviously I don't make games, but it's that thing of like, I took over from Matt, and so you go, oh, these are big shoes to fill. I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be here. And so I think that is such a relatable thing and totally normal, but also it's so great to see that it didn't stop you.
But to be fair, I think that you did your best, and you did well. You did good.
I think is the key.
Look, MadHat is a legend in the YouTube community. He's a legend in the game tiers, the film tiers, the food tiers, the style tiers, GT Life. He's a legend there. There's no doubt about it. Alright? There's huge shoes for you guys to fill. But you guys have been filling his shoes for years. I'm speaking from a point of view of someone from 2026, so it's serious. Yeah. You guys did good.
The fact that even when we have those feelings, we push through, or you guys have pushed through to continue to make some awesome stuff, because otherwise we wouldn't have these amazing stories that people in the chat are screaming about, like, and that's awesome to see. And so I guess the follow-up then is how did you guys find that switch? That switch from, making YouTube videos or writing stories to creating games, to managing teams, to hiring people to make the games. Like, I assume, like, none of you, again, from what you guys kind of said, none of you, or some of you, Horoscoped, you kind of did, but didn't have much gaming or game making experience prior to going into this. So yeah, how did you find that transition? What were some of what have been your biggest learnings outside of a movie would have been easier? Anyone, please feel free to jump in, please.
Okay, I guess I'll start. So basically, I knew nothing about game development at all. Like, just like you said, nothing at all. And I wouldn't have been able to. I want to shout out one person. I wouldn't have been able to make my game if it wasn't for a friend of mine called It's Just George. He's a fellow YouTuber. We met through the Little Nightmares community. He was my programmer, so massive, hearts to him. And basically, we got me.
So, thank you so much. Thank you. Much love. Thank you.
These calls, and it was just the two of us making it to start with. And we just thought, obviously, be a little 3-month project. Be like a 20-minute long game. I pitched him the idea. I said, like, I'll do all the art for it, man. You can program it, I'll build out the levels and light it and stuff. But I can do that much in Unity. You can do the lighting and make the modeling, and we'll share the load and we'll get it out. And it took 18 months in the end, and hiring additional people in to do specific jobs, like ML Spence. I think he works for Mob now on Poppy Playtime, but back then he was still in college, and he's an amazing animator. So he did our rigging and our models and our animation. And then Jaren Chris, the soundtrack, he's an amazing composer. He's done work for like Lost in Vivo and Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion, stuff like that. We had a really great cast. We got very lucky, but to answer the main question, how did I start? Well, it was just kind of playing enough of these horror games on my own channel to think, you know what, a lot of these games are made by like 2 or 3 people, and in a few weeks sometimes, and I could be maybe a bit more ambitious and try and do something, you know, with a longer development cycle that tries a few new ideas, a bit more unconventional, a bit weirder maybe. I thought, I don't know if anyone will like it, because my brain is weird and I come up with weird ideas, but I wanted to give it a shot. So I thought, you know what, a couple of months work, sure, we'll just make a little free thing. But then as I was making it, I got more ambitious with it, and I was saying to Jordan, look, can we do this, can we do this? And then some of the ideas weren't working, and I just realized at a certain point that I had put enough time and effort into it, like working on art assets every day, designing the levels out, rewriting the script, expanding the world and the ideas. I was like, I actually want this to like come out, like turn out somewhat decently, so let's just go for it. And I still thought it was going to be maybe like a year's development, but no, it took 18 months. We weren't on it full time, I'll say that. We could have probably done it in a year. But it did end up being like an hour and a half long and pretty lengthy for what was meant to be a 20-minute experience. But yeah, that's basically how I started getting into it. I just had the itch to try, and then it got into it snowballed and became like a bit of a crazy big project. Yeah.
I think when you're a creator on YouTube, or any kind of creator, over time, if you do the same thing every day, over and over, for years on end, you will eventually lose that drive, or maybe it's not as inspiring anymore. I'm gonna point out SpongeBob. There's an episode in SpongeBob which is very interesting. It's when Squidward goes to a town full of Squidwards, and it's all his hobbies, right? And every day he can indulge in those hobbies, and it's super fun. Eventually he gets bored because there's no variety, and also he's just been doing the same thing every single day. He eventually hates clarinet, right? So I think with YouTube and making videos or any kind of creative craft, if you are a creative individual, you're going to want to pivot at some point or try something new, because it breathes fresh air into things. It's a challenge again. You no longer have to, you don't, like, for me, YouTube's autopilot. Like, I know everything that goes in, I know how long it's going to take. And so switching gears allowed me to really get in tune with that creative spirit again. And then channel that into an actual game. And I think,
Okay, look, here's what I think. All right, here's what I think. I think that passion can only bring you so far. As a hobby, it can only bring you so far. You have passion, great. You have hobby, great. You are treating it as a hobby, you are treating it as a passion, fantastic, good. That's a good start. But it can only bring you so far. After a certain milestone that you hit, could be time, could be numbers, could be popularity, could be monetary issues, it dawns on you that there's significantly more things to push you forward or to pull you back other than passions and as a hobby. Maybe there's some friendship here and there, maybe there's some camaraderie here and there, maybe there's some genuine romance, some love for it, some inspiration, some encouragement, some motivation, but it's a multifaceted issue. Alright? The easiest and most common way of seeing things is, I'm doing this for a living. If I don't do this, I will starve. The basic default answer is always going to be monetary issues.
Mike also said this, like,
Passion can only bring you so far. At some point in time, you have to bring in money.
a game can be a one-man team, or it can be multiple people. And like Zardy's Maze and Cave would not have been possible without Zach, who's an amazing developer.
Okay, so he makes a very good point. No man is an island. At some point in time, you have to branch out if you want to expand your reach. For me personally, I recognize that Mr. Beast, he mentioned at any given point in time there are 300 to 500 individuals working under him. Maybe it's significantly more, but let's take that number, 300 to 500. MadPat, the game theorist. In the past, he mentioned at any given point in time there is 30 to 50 individuals working under him. Alright, 30, 50, 300, 500. I want to have something similar, maybe 3 to 5. Alright, 30, 50, 300, 500 is a bit overbearing for me, I guess, but 3 individuals or 5 individuals is a good solid team. Just think of Team Kakashi with Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura. 3 individuals. And maybe a 4th individual as an intern to back them up, like Sai. Yeah, so 3 to 5 individuals. Yeah. And also, case in point, if something does go wrong with my videos for good solid period of time, it's more worrisome to care for 30 individuals, 50 individuals, or 300 individuals, 500 individuals worth of salary in comparison to worrying for 3 to 5 individuals worth of salary. Me being the boss. You get the point, don't you? Granted, I hope that I can hire someone that can do the business work, lah. The marketing, the business, the sponsorship here and there. I hope that I can hire someone to do it for me, lah. The finance guy, that can talk to the brand, the sponsorships, do all the accounting, and granted, there's also the need for HR. And HR. Once you scale up high, HR is very important. Just to cover your backside.
He handled a lot of the back end stuff. I did a lot of the world building, the concepting, also working in Unity itself. And then we have the Regressor, who is an amazing 3D, retro 3D animator and modeler. And these are both people that I met along my YouTube journey. Zach was making a game called Bomb Fest, which is a party game at the time, where you basically blow each other up with bombs. Really fun. And then the Regressor was someone who I worked with on a Undertale video, like, it had been like 10 years ago.
Okay, you guys can see, I'm so sorry. This should be able to... All veggie! Is it all veggie? All veg? All Vegeta! Super Saiyan! Dragon Ball!
11 years ago. Whenever Undertale first came out, because he was doing animations at the time for that. And those became the team, and they were the ones that helped us make the games that came out. So I think, I think that's kind of my angle on it.
Yeah, I think me, like, I guess always kind of had like a project manager, kind of very organized kind of side of things, and the kind of JT music kind of side of, like, with what we do. So like that I was welcoming, and I was like, okay, this is going to be something I can tackle. But, I think, going in first, we found a developer from YouTube. He was creating a devlog, and I was watching his stuff, and I was like, this looks sick. And then kind of from there, the team built out from YouTube kind of creators or content creators, like tangentially related to FNAF. And so it's pretty cool because everyone on the team has been able to create online, particularly in the indie horror scene, particularly FNAF. And then now we're kind of making our own thing. But in terms of like starting off, from my perspective, it was definitely a tall order. And so a lot of what I did was I kind of just did a crash course on game development. I watched like every GDC kind of vault video that I could find, all the devlogs. And then one I recommend, if anyone's interested in game development or just like the process of games, go check out Game Maker's Toolkit. That's like such an invaluable, like, it's like infotainment, but there's a lot there that you can pick up on game development. And then just reading. I like read books on books on books. And so, doing that and like kind of classically educating myself, I guess, in a sense, and then doing it on the side and leading a team and like learning from them and learning from each other kind of, got us going. But I think starting from zero, it's interesting because I think the first 2 years of development, if we could do it again or start from where we are now, that we could have made those 2 years into one, just from the understanding kind of, setting up systems, processes, working with the team, all that, and how to just do things at scale. But, it was a tall order, but I think it was fortunate enough to have the time to kind of figure it out. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of what you guys are saying lines up really well for everyone, not only in game development, but starting your own projects in whatever field you're going into. At least for me, with the Garden of Banban remake, I was grabbing people I knew from the Friday Night Funkin' community, Slushy, Pincer Prod, Seek, and they were helping me with assets here and there, and that continued to grow. And being able to build a team of supportive friends and creators around me, I think, is what really propelled me into creating an original project through Indigo Park. Getting Rect or Recty or Tom on board for writing and voice direction, getting Jake Neutron on to handle a lot of the rambly animation and the 2D sense. Really being able to spread a net and kind of let people that know what they're doing handle what they know.
I knew it. It was all Vegeta without Dragon Ball because there's meat. So it's definitely going to give me Super Saiyan powers, right? Kame! Kame! Ha! It's not veg. It's not all veg. There's meat there. So it's not all veg. It's all Vegeta. I'm going to be a superhero after eating this.
I think really allowed me to find time to learn game development and learn project management, and really flesh out what we wanted to do. Anytime you're starting a new skill, I think doing as much research as possible, especially now with the resources like YouTube, it is so easy to look up like how to make a door that can open in Unreal Engine, and there's 50,000 tutorials on how to do it. Being able to throw yourself into it, I think, is what really helps, and being able to surround yourself with people who are not only creative, but are passionate about the stuff that you're doing. I know, at least for us, really propelled the project forward and helped us get started in what we're trying to do.
The doors. I think the last time we had a panel, Mason, we talked about the doors a little bit, but doors are hilarious because nobody respects how hard a door is to make in a video game. But they're like top 5
Wait,
most
really?
annoying things. Oh yeah,
And
like
lockers as
it's
well.
a meme. It's a meme. Go look at how hard doors are to make, and you play a game like Silent Hill 2, and this is hilarious because the remake, there's all this like commotion about the main character and like the door situation, and it's so hard to make the doors that they made in that game, and I just appreciate it so much, even though it annoyed the whole world. But it's a great door system, it's like I just appreciate doors. So I don't want to go down the door tangent right now, but yeah, so a lot of people don't know this. I'm not super public about it, but if you do research on me, you can find this. When I was doing while I was doing Rocket Music, I took a job at a tech company called Box, this cloud content management, file sharing, all that good stuff. And I started as a sales rep, and then I was like managing both of those things, and I was doing that during the day, and then the pandemic hit, and I never had to go into work. I'm like, well, I'll just keep doing this and then do YouTube at night, and then I can make double the money. No one's gonna know. So I'm like, I'm doing that, and then I'm doing my YouTube stuff at night. And then the opportunity came to be a manager at this, for a bunch of folks fresh out of college. And so I got that skill under my belt, and I was really good at that, and I really liked it. And I was still doing, all the music creation at night. And then I became, a manager for an outbound team. And I had this like trajectory. I'm like, okay, I'm going to become like a director of sales in tech and also be a YouTuber. And I didn't tell anybody at my job, nobody. So I thought I was being super sly. Well, obviously I'm not that hard to find, and everybody knew, but in the workspace, nobody said anything. So for years, I thought I was being like super discreet, but everybody knew who I was and what I was doing. But I say that because what it did was instill this level of understanding and confidence of like managing a team of 10 to 12 people with these crazy budgets and pipeline numbers in the tens of millions. That so when I went into creating or wanting to create a game, I was like, well, I have all the tools ready to go to be able to manage a team because most people are just kind of winging it. So I'm going to go in and kind of know what I'm doing. That said, I still had to find a developer, find the artists and the concept artists. I luckily am the sound designer and also do all the music. So that's really nice to be able to have some of that control. And I was also writing it for such a long time. And again, I'm not a good writer, so we actually have 2 writers on the project now. But I was able to like understand really quickly that I needed a team and it wasn't going to just be me. However, being able to stand that up out the gates was really, really important. I think something that John said from JT was like, you got to just do it. Like you can do all the research. John, I've known John for a long time. He's the research guy. I will jump in barefoot without knowing how hot or cold the pool is and just see how it is. And I did, I probably spent and wasted a year because of that. But now I know what to do next time differently, and I think we'll all get to the same understanding of the if I do it next time, it'll be better. But you gotta do it. You can read about.
He makes a very good point. You might think that it's wasted time, but this wasted time helps you to grow. So the next time you can do better. Room for improvements.
About it as much as you want, watch as much content as you want about it, but you just learn through doing, and you'll figure out what works for you best, which I'm sure we all can agree on.
Yep, definitely. I wasted a lot of time making Glitched Out because I kept coming up with ideas and thinking, actually, this doesn't work. Let's throw it out. Let's try something new. So I can sympathize with that. Should have planned it better to start with, I think.
One interesting thing, and I'll stop, but like blocking out, right? Blocking out's it's a common concept that I wish I was better at, but my brain doesn't work like that, especially for a horror game. Like walking through gray boxes and seeing gray stuff and having no audio, I cannot feel what that's gonna feel like, So for me, I wasted so much time. Like I need to see this hallway with it almost at like an 80% to really understand if this is a good move, versus other people can visualize that in their head and get through it. But that's such a waste of time for me. And as I've progressed, I am a little bit better at it. But the gray boxing thing was really hard for me at first.
Oh yeah, no, that sounds like I get it. Like I would be in a similar boat. I think struggling to visualize that. But that, like again, what I love about pretty much what all of you have said in part is for some of you, so it's like the three things are like, just do it, just start, just do the research, start getting involved, teach yourself stuff. You can do that. Secondly to that though is you don't have to do it alone. Like you may not be a game developer. Like it's very easy, I think, to look at video games and go, it's one guy in his bedroom making this incredible indie game. And that may have been true, and is still true for some people, but normally they are a game developer, or that is what their training is, and that's what they're trying to do. That's what Scott was. He was trying to be a game developer. And so they have the skills and things to do that. And it's like, you can obviously teach yourself if that's what you want to do, but it's also okay to ask others and get others involved and lean on their strengths so that you can each play to wherever you are strongest.
Exactly. No man is an island. You have your pros, you have your cons, you have your strengths, and working together with other individuals with great chemistry, you can lean upon each other to create something much better. Create a better team dynamic, create better games, better videos.
And the final part on top of that then is community. Is that fact of so much of this has been built out of, oh, I knew so and so from the Friday Night Funkin' space, or I knew people from the FNAF space, or I knew people because of this project. And being able to, it shows how community around franchises, but also just community in the YouTube space, and building those relationships is so key to this. Sorry, 1 minute. Speaking of community, I think someone's trying to phone in. That's interesting. Fisher, can we just get that up on the screen for me, please? Indigo.
Someone's trying to phone in.
Indigo.
Hello. Hello.
Here we go.
And will they? Well, hey, we've been getting the
No!
for you in 2026.
That started
How about
midway
for
through.
now, you just get a... Hey, buddy. Good to see you again. Whoa, are we on a game theory? Surely they won't call me evil again, will they? Well, hey, we've been getting the park ready for you in 2026. How about for now, you just get a bit more rest? I'll see you real soon, buddy.
No. No! No! End of December.
And
No! This video came out This video came out back in 2025 December, and they're planning ahead 12 months prior to end of 2025 December. Now that is looking forward to it.
There we have it.
Wonderful.
A custom little teaser. Thank you so much, Mason, for giving us that. That's awesome. Please, obviously, I can see the chat's going wild. There's clearly some secrets there for us to decode. But in the interim of that, please tell us what you guys have got in store and how things have been going for Indigo Park Chapter 2.
Yeah, sure. So as you can see, Rambly is still in a bit of a waking up state. He's going to have his glitches and bugs. But no, Chapter 2 has been a blast to work on. Our team has been really experimenting with what we've done in Chapter 1 and trying to expand on it. For me personally, the project has gotten so much bigger. Chapter 1 was something that we just kind of put out while I was finishing up college as kind of a proof of concept of like, hey, I want to make this game, and this is the world we're trying to present with the characters that we came up with. And really, this project has grown so much bigger than anything I think we initially imagined. And we'll talk more about the development of it later, obviously. But yeah, we're really looking forward to having a trailer ready for you, hopefully by end of December here. We just got done recording some lines for it, actually, and I'm really excited about it. Yeah, we're just kind of plugging away at Chapter 2 here. I'll continue to be vocal on my socials about it for you guys. But really taking a step into a new area of the park and really comparing what we've already created to comparing what we have in Chapter 2 to Chapter 1, it's a night and day difference. And I'm really excited for you guys to see everything that we've been working on because it's pretty cool.
Yep, it is exciting.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so awesome. Again, thank you so much for sharing that little custom thing. And you know, you can tell Rambly I won't call him evil if he stops acting evil. No, it's all part of the fun. It's all.
I'm gonna guess there will be a game tier video up about that.
The joys of theorizing, the joys of what I get to do is look at things slightly differently. But thank you so much for sharing that. That's awesome. I'm very, very excited. Indigo Park has a special place in my heart because it was one of the earliest indie horrors I got to cover when I took over. So I along with the rest of chat, are very, very excited for this.
Thank you very much.
No, of course. But with that, let's move into sort of next question. We've kind of talked about some of this already, but inspirations. What we talked about FNAF a lot. I think FNAF was obviously such a pioneer in the indie horror space, especially. Like, it came out of nowhere. It built up this massive hype. Within 13 months, it had 4 games, which is crazy to think about now. But it was this huge pioneer of indie horror. But there have also been a lot of other pioneers within the space. We've had, you know, in recent years, we've had things like Poppy Playtime. We've had things like Garden of Banban. We've had Bendy and the Ink Machine, Hello Neighbor. But I'd love to know kind of what you guys, when you were approaching development, what were the games you were looking at for inspiration? Was there anything you looked at and went, ooh, that game did something really good. Let's do something like that. Was there something that you looked at and went,
I think FNAF is a good pivot point. It's a good call that everyone involved in the panel have probably played or even at least read about the existence of FNAF, right? FNAF, that is. And like that's the thing. Standing on the shoulders of giants. Thank you so much, FNAF. Thank you so much, Scott Cawthon. I'm sorry.
that was really bad, can we fix it and do something better than that? Or was there something you maybe thought was bad, but as you went into it, you went, oh, I now understand why they did it that way, and actually that kind of works. I'd be fascinated just to know all spectrum of kind of like how development has felt and like from those inspirations and where that came from.
Okay, so when I started Glitched Out, because I was going to do a lot of the art myself, right? Because it was just kind of really me and Jord working on it from the very beginning. So I decided, because I drew so much growing up. I used to do loads of art, and I loved drawing and stuff. So I knew I could draw to a certain extent, and I thought, okay, so we'll go with the sort of Bending the Ink Machine, sort of Cuphead, Binding of Isaac look, where it's like hand drawn like assets, so to speak. And so that was kind of why it has that look more than any other reason, just because I thought, again, it started as a much smaller project. I thought if I can handle all the art assets myself and like the texturing and stuff, it just saves a lot of time, because that's just really hard if you're going for like realism. So I thought, I'll give it a distinctive look as well. It'll be my art style, be like, no one has the exact same art style, so great. So those were the inspirations for the look of the game. The actual like hand unit in Glitched Out was inspired by one of my favorite horror games, which is Alien Isolation. If you remember, in that game, you have the little hand unit, you go up and you hack different doors to get around, and that's essentially what Glitched Out is, but we just expanded it to make it like mini games essentially, but we're a bit more involved and have rounds and stuff, which was also a really terrible idea, because instead of doing the FNAF thing where you switch to a different screen when you're surveilling stuff or something, or hacking something, we just decided, for some reason, we'd do it all on layers within the 3D space. So we had to constantly, like, you'd bring up the screen and it would have to like perfectly match the 2D layer overlaid onto the screen, because we're like, it'll be seamless this way, instead of just having a brief cut where it could have just gone to a separate screen and would have saved so many months of hell. But no, it was horrible. But anyway, so that comes from Alien Isolation, and then the humor of the game and the writing style, actually, like Undertale was mentioned earlier, it's one of my favorite games, and that whole like style of
sense is nice.
Toby Fox.
If you know, you know.
It was inspired by that, but also by like a lot of text-based adventure games I grew up playing, like Broken Sword and Curse of Monkey Island, which had a lot of like silly kind of dry humor to them. The humor also came from like British shows like Red Dwarf and stuff like that. That kind of sort of style of humor, but definitely the Undertale kind of style of text-based stuff influenced it. And then other comedy games like High on Life and Ratchet and Clank, where you have a companion, influenced the more like live actiony bits with the voice acting. And then just to finalize like the final bits of inspiration on the game, the story, while you guys don't know the full story was heavily inspired by elements of one of my favorite animes, which is Evangelion. And then
Crow Angel Thesis. 残酷な天使のように少年の心はshit.
Also has a bit of a political side with the kind of colonizing of a planet and the sort of authoritarian government and the liberation rising up to fight them, and that would have played more into the story going forward as well. So they were kind of like the direct influences I had. And in terms of just like to quickly kind of wrap it up, in terms of stuff that I didn't want to lean into, there was a lot of kind of like mascot horror games. Not that I like to class Glitched Out as a mascot horror game, but some people do. But there was a lot of those games that I was playing, and it just felt like all it was collect keycard, open door, collect keycard, open door. And so I wanted to kind of do something where it was more like you'd have these notes and they would hint at stuff around the environment, and it would be like, solve a puzzle in this environment. And then you go to the next one, and there'll be like vague cues of like, you need to do this, or you need to do this. And I think I made it too vague, because a lot of people got frustrated, especially with the Seeker part, where they were like, I have no idea what I'm meant to be doing here. And I tried to explain it if you read all the like little monster notes in your sort of like, portable glitch fixer thing, but I don't think I made it clear enough. And Jordan was like, yeah, I think, we might have made this too vague, so that's our bad, I guess. Anyway, sorry to ramble, but
sorry.
That's my answer.
No. Yeah, no, it's great. Again, it's one of those things where I really admire the ability to not want to go down the tell don't show route and instead go for show don't tell. But it's a fine balance, isn't it? It's
you can mess it up.
To see.
Yeah,
exactly.
We messed it up.
Yeah, I guess I'll go next.
Well, there's beauty in messing up sometimes,
Yeah.
For us, we wanted like the setting vibe and then the gameplay direction. So with like kind of the setting, we looked at kind of some of our favorite games in the kind of indie horror and just kind of games generally. But specifically indie horror, like what did it do well? And what other they do is they take the nostalgia, like the nostalgic or the familiar, and they put a twist on it. You have Chuck E. Cheese with FNAF, Disney with Indigo Park. 2D animation with Bendy, toys and toy stores, toy store factories with Poppy, all that. And so we're like, okay, like let's break it down to that. And then like what to us personally is something we want to explore. We want to put our twist on. And so for us, we kind of went to our own nostalgia, which is just kind of like the 90s and kind of just packing up in a car and road trip. And so that was kind of our setting. And then from that, we came upon, a Route 66 roadside attraction. There's definitely a kind of a fun nostalgia too with like Americana, American Kitsch, the road trip kind of Route 66 aesthetic. And so we kind of like settled on that. And then we, okay, roadside attraction. What's cool? Dinosaurs. We love dinosaurs. 90s dinosaurs. I was a kid in the 90s. I love dinosaurs. Jurassic Park came out. Like it all kind of just, came together in that way. And so that's the, the kind of the progression of the setting. And then for the game direction, gameplay, I guess this kind of flips into, what did I want to bring into this space, the indie horror space that I wasn't seeing. And it was, I wanted, I guess, a faster game, more movement, more of a game that requires skill than, kind of, for lack of a better term, like walking simulators. There's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I wanted to bring that into the space where, I want to move, I want to have some skill level or skill gap and kind of, have some kind of like skill expression within the game itself and kind of have a fun setting. And so, inspirations game-wise, Mirror's Edge is kind of like one of the OG.
You said several times. I'm going to say this very clearly. I don't know what you're trying to say. I'm so sorry. Explain it properly. I'm sorry. I can get bits and pieces of what you're trying to say, but in clear picture, I don't. Sorry.
First-person platformers, but anything like Donkey Kong Country, any Mario game, those games are 2D side scrollers, but with the 4:3 aspect ratio, you had only so much time to react. And so there was a fun flow state in those games. And then obviously Mirror's Edge is the same flow state because it's first person. You have to take things as they come a lot more when you're not in third. And so, those kind of games kind of came together for what we wanted in here. And then, our kind of game loop we build up to is you're getting chased by dinosaurs, you're moving around some precarious settings and platforms and all that stuff. And so, that's I guess the inspiration and how we came to that.
Amazing.
Cool.
I think-
I'll jump in. So, it's very funny when UniqueGeese and SuperHorrorBro and JT, when I found out everybody was making a game, it sort of happened at the same time, which is very strange. And I hadn't heard that everybody was making a game. I'm very close with John. We even run a business together, and I didn't know he was making a game. And we just found out, interestingly enough, that we were like on the exact same timeline, starting out that we were kind of secretly doing a game. And SuperHorrorBro was making Glitched Out, and I think I've seen his content for a long time online. Don't know if we ever really connected outside of just I said, hey, like from the Rocket account or whatever, saying, love your stuff. But then I was making this game and I was kind of saying like, hey, our inspirations are Alien Isolation and Silent Hill. And then I think SuperHorrorBro was like, amazing. Like, we're kind of like, there's some alignment here. And I think for me, one of the things that I wanted to also do, and I don't want to say that this is bad because it's not bad, but historically indie horror it's lacking gameplay because it's really hard to make gameplay. I'll just say that. Real gameplay is really tough. People who don't know what they're doing can watch YouTube videos and make a video game because you can kind of slop it together, not in a bad way, but you can. But where indie horror has been, I think, the service has been lacking is that it's expensive to get really good gameplay. It's hard to do, and you have to have really skilled people to make systems, right? That we see today in AA and AAA. So when we get these AAA games that come out and everyone's just ripping on them and hating on them, I have such a soft spot now that I've see the other end. And it's like, look, it's really hard to even make something that you think is bad. And so from the jump, again, Alien Isolation for us was such an amazing reference point and desire to have this like amazing stalker enemy. little did I know they had 40 people working on that enemy for 5 years or whatever, right? So we didn't have quite that manpower to be able to do that, and we're still figuring out what it really is going to come out to be. But Alien Isolation, BioShock, and Silent Hill 2, if you can imagine all of those in one world, that's sort of what we're aiming to go after with Don't Fret, and also John touched on this from JT, is that everything has to kind of have an angle, and we're all YouTubers and we all know content creation, and we all kind of get the business sense. And so if you don't have your angle, then you will be forgotten and washed away with everything else out there. There's 15,000 plus games that come out every year. So if you don't have an angle, it's really tough to have your vision come to light or even be seen. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because I think it's one of those things that it's easy to forget from the developer side as a consumer what's going on behind the scenes when you look at people's inspiration and things like that. And just hats off and applause to everybody trying to do something new or creative, because it's friggin' tough.
Yeah.
With the gameplay thing, I think that kind of both the things that were said earlier about gameplay and the horror space, that was something that actually drove me into making the horror game Zardy's Maze, was because there was not a lot of gameplay. I can't remember. No, actually, I can't remember. I remember watching people doing the FNAF challenges, like the 10-20 nights. And it was like the most crazy thing to watch as a viewer online. I can't beat those myself. There's no way in heck I can. I know that, right? But the gameplay of it, it was like this aggressive, like whack-a-mole / I don't know, however you want to categorize it, right? But I led with gameplay first for Zardy's Maze. I was like, okay, I want this to be fun. I want it to be challenging. I want it to be punishing. I want it to frustrate people so they leave the maze, but then they're like, you know what? I'm going to pick it back up again tonight. And that was kind of the concept. I wanted to make something that was difficult, that was beatable, but you learned by losing. And Five Nights at Freddy's took my attention right away. That's like a huge inspiration for me, just the gameplay loop with those games. And then you kind of had things like Bendy. I think Bendy took what FNAF did, followed in its footsteps. Honestly, I believe they strongly did that, but in a way where they told a more cohesive story while still leaning into the quote unquote selective storytelling techniques that FNAF did. So Zardy's Maze was a combination of these things. And I would say the last inspiration for Zardy's Maze was Doki Doki Literature Club. So Doki Doki Literature Club. Obviously, it's a visual novel.
Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica. Just Monica.
Game that has a twist. But underneath the surface of that, there's you could say an ARG, right? There is all the character files are puzzles that you can solve, and they eventually lead to something. And that concept was interesting to me. So I'm like, okay, what if I take all these things and combine them in a way where I have a challenge-based game that rewards players for thinking outside the box and solving the game in ways that's unintended, or escaping out of bounds in ways that's unintended, and rewarding them for setting even limitations on themselves. And then you have the crazy players out there who are going to set everything to max and be like, I'm somehow going to overcome this. So Zardy's Maze was definitely a skill-based game.
Don't call them crazy. Call them engaged, highly engaged players, highly experienced players, veteran players, professional players, or huge fans. I'm sorry.
And those were the games that inspired it. And I will say on the opposite side of this, there's another inspiration behind Zardy as a whole, and it's my friends. I think, growing in a creator circle. So I come from sort of a circle of friends called Minus World, where we created videos together for the longest time. And a lot of my peers in that circle went on to make their own projects. So Kevin and Luke of SMG4 made Glitch. You've seen Meta Runner, you've seen Amazing Digital Circus and the projects that they've made. We have Charu5, who was in the chat earlier. He's the voice actor for Fall of Zarada and also Zardy and Drought in the game. Having his project, which is Project Soulstar. My friend Nathaniel Bandy making his own scripted series about injecting himself into like a fan world. My buddy Nintendo making a game called Carl, which is a side scroller.
Nice.
Like having those people close by you who are also pursuing similar creative endeavors, who are your friends. They are your backbone who support you through your journey. It's incredibly inspiring. And seeing where they go beyond YouTube and the things that they fulfill after this point, it always keeps me inspired. And that was definitely a thing that kept me going through game development and trying to figure out, all this.
For sure. And I think having that creative surrounding to you, again, with any project, is just so crucial. One of our inspirations for Indigo Park really comes from the core idea of wanting to have an interactable animated character. So a friend of mine I met through Friday Night Funkin' was Jake Neutron. And when we were beginning development on Rambly as a character, he had just released an Amanda the Adventurer fan song music video that was going like super viral. And I saw that animation style and I'm like, that's what I want. And like now he's going on to do all these like massive scale, awesome animated music video things. But that core design is really where Rambly got his start. And obviously, like, we take inspiration from other indie horror games like FNAF and Poppy Playtime and Amanda itself. But I think having that core idea of wanting Rambly to be an interactable character is where we draw a lot of our other inspiration for the world and story. Games like Portal are so massive for what we're wanting to do with Indigo. Interactions with GLaDOS and Wheatley are very similar to the stuff that we want players to experience when they're interacting with Rambly and some of the characters that'll pop up in future chapters. But it's also games like Undertale that was mentioned before, where we really want to take a character-focused route. The gameplay's there, the story is there, the environment is there, but we want the player to feel engaged with the characters that we're creating. And that is obviously very important to us as we continue going forward. Other inspirations, obviously, like real-life theme parks and architecture and environments that are left abandoned. That's kind of like the basic answer when it comes to like the mascot horror, because that's what we're all riffing off of, is like, oh, what if this childhood thing was abandoned? So being able to look at like older footage or abandoned attractions or anything in that regard really helps us build up our world. And I guess the other inspiration that we really take from Recty or Rect, who is a head writer and voice of Lloyd in our game and stuff, we'll be talking about like a concept, or I'll have an idea for a gameplay mechanic, and out of nowhere he'll be like, oh yeah, that's just like Blorbo's Revenge on the Atari 2600. And he like just random knowledge, like random old game that came out of nowhere. And his ability to apply the knowledge that comes from that through these old games and things that people haven't been able to see and bring that into a new light becomes really special. And I think that's really exciting. I think the only major thing that we ever saw in gaming, and we're like, okay, we need to avoid that at all costs, because we have a character that's following you around the entire game. We don't want a, hey, look, listen, Legend of Zelda situation where Rambly's over your shoulder the entire time and being super annoying. And so far, we've done a good job at staying away from that. But, you know, all these inspirations and character building really kind of comes together to create something really cool.
Absolutely. And all the stuff about the living characters, I'm sure you loved that 4+ hour Defunctland video that just dropped.
I watched that all in one sitting. I did. I watched it all in one sitting.
Yeah, I think I did as well. It's fantastic. But obviously Rambly is working as much as he's supposed to.
Working as much as he's supposed to.
Which is awesome. But no, it's fascinating seeing just where
it is indeed fascinating. Thank you.
You guys are pulling from. And like you said, Mason, it's not always the indie horror stuff. The indie horror is obviously huge inspiration for you guys, but having there's this idea that there's nothing new under the sun. Everything is kind of a remix of everything, but that's a good thing, and it means you can really pull so much from so many places, which I think is just awesome to create something that feels so unique. And speaking of unique, I believe we have now got a little snippet from the wonderful Horoscoped for an upcoming expansion of the Zardes universe. So check it out.
Oh,
There was only
a second
one
trailer.
night until the festival.
Okay, sorry. I interrupted.
And speaking
Sorry.
of unique, I believe we have now got a little snippet from the wonderful Horoscoped for an upcoming expansion of the Zardes universe. So check it out.
There was only one night until the festival. The faint sound of rain droplets hitting the roof began, and the room grew darker. This pitter-patter soon turned into a full rain that drowned out the sounds of the forest. But not the footsteps creeping towards his window. He heard a whisper, a quiet, raspy voice just behind his head that tickled his ear. So close you could almost feel the breath of the speaker. Go away.
And there we have it. There we go. Horoscope, please take it away. Let us know what we can expect from this, and where the Zardes universe is going in the future, and how all that is shaping up for you.
Yeah, so after Zardes Maze, we began the development of Zardes Cave, which the first chapter of that game has come out. And alongside the development of Chapter 2, we have also started Fall of Zarada, which is an audio series actually based on that book I mentioned earlier, the thing I started writing in 2013. So it is the expanded universe of where all this stuff comes from. You know, the storytelling in Zardes Maze was very cryptic. People really had to work hard to get those lower bits out of there to really overcome things and get secret endings and piece it all together. I kind of want to share the story behind it a little bit more. And so this is going to be an episodic series that comes out that follows the original book that I wrote, in a way where we can give fans more to stew over. These two worlds are connected, and I think it's going to be kind of exciting for people to be able to listen to this, but also as the chapters come out, kind of take those things and be like, okay, well, hold on, was this something in reference to this, and basically get a more cohesive picture. And so I'm excited about it. I'm honestly really excited for it, because this, in some ways, is the reason I started YouTube. I started YouTube because I'm like, oh, I can make this thing, but I have no one to share it with. I don't know how I'm going to market this thing. Is anyone going to care? And then there's the fear of, as a creator, you make something, you put it out there. I'm like, okay, if it doesn't make a splash, is someone just going to take the idea and run with it? Someone bigger, who has a social following. And so those types of things play into, we talked about imposter syndrome earlier, play into those feelings and freeze you. And so this is really interesting, because after the 10 years of doing YouTube, I'm really excited to do this. It fills me with so much creative energy to just do this alongside making the game. And so it's something that can also appease fans while development's taking place, because development takes a long time in a game. You have to factor in basically every outcome in game development. So this allows fans to still get fed, as they'll call it in chat, while working on bigger projects that take more time. So yeah, Zardes Cave Chapter 2 is what we're working on, and then Fall of Zarada, there'll be more chapters for that coming out, and it's going to be fun growing both these things together.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we also have a special screenshot, which, Fisher, if we could just throw that up. So we've got, there you go, for all of you who are wanting to see a little bit more of what's to come.
I can collectively hear the screenshot sound effect.
I can hear those Photoshop exposure sliders going up.
I checked that.
which is so cool. But like, you know, again, what I love about that, and I'm saying that a lot, but I like, honestly, I'm just huge fans of all of you guys and everything you're doing. But I love that this is becoming, it's not just a game anymore. It is a full story. It is a multimedia franchise essentially that you are building, which is so cool. And it's going, hey, games are a really good way to tell a story. Like you've all talked about how I wanted to tell this story through a game, and it's a really cool medium where you get to interact and explore and be like first person in it. But actually, there are some parts of the story or some stories in general that can work really well in a different form. That can work. So it's like, you know, you're saying expanding this world. It's like, well, a big part of it is going to work for the game and the chapters that you're releasing. But actually, there's this huge section or this little part over here that makes more sense as an audiobook, or that's going to make more sense if you're FNAF as 20,000 books. Whatever it is, it allows you to break that down and explore those different mediums, which I think is really fun and gives audiences, pieces to play off in different ways, which I think is just great. And so with that, also, as we're talking about writing, as we're talking about expanding the world and the story, this is game theory. I do have to talk about the lore. It is a contractual requirement that I talk about it in some form.
Come on, don't say lore. The lore! I'm sorry.
Matt Pat made sure that was in my contract before he left. But I just wanted to talk about literally, you know, how you found writing these stories, how you came up with these stories. Like some of you said like you've had them for a long time and you just decided to pull the trigger and go for them. But like, how have you found coming up with these stories? What has your approach been to creating the lore, again, based on everything that we know from indie horror? And so how did you want to approach that? How did you want to tell that differently? We talked a little bit about show, don't tell, and like the differences there and how that can sometimes be good, sometimes can be challenging. But also, you know, how have you found it putting those stories, again, for those of you as well who have like had these stories so near and dear to your heart, I'd love to know how it's felt to actually put those out in the world and to have people online go through them, really dig through them, sometimes get the story wrong, and how you find people misinterpreting your stuff. You know, couldn't be me, but sorry. But yeah, I just love to know kind of your approach to that storytelling, coming up with the ideas, and like what it's then like to have those stories dug through within an inch of their life on this wonderful platform we call YouTube.
I'll go first.
You go first. I didn't want to go first this time. Think about it.
You mix it up. Well, we don't even have the dropping the teaser trailer, so very early on. So I can't speak to that, but we have seen some kind of consumption of what's going on. It's been really interesting to see what people think because we haven't really said too much. So like we were at PAX West, but it was like 500 people were able to play it over a weekend. It's pretty concentrated and offline. But for me, the story, I mean, I wrote the treatment. I knew the world I wanted it to be, and then we started developing the concept art and figuring it out from there too with that stuff. But outside of that, it was like, okay, this is where I want to sit and settle, setting wise, and then we just got down to building the systems and building the game and making sure it's fun, and designing the whole level, like the levels, how you move through it and all that stuff. So like, kind of like maybe sacrilegious of an answer in this setting, but we focus on the gameplay first. We locked that in, but we always knew like, okay, this is like the big stuff that's happening. But obviously, you just wanted to set up the intrigue and the mystery and the hook. How are we going to set this up that this is going to be interesting to people, that they're going to want to know the answers, and how do we plant the seeds and plant ideas, and in some ways, red herrings. I guess I'll talk a little bit more later when we show the trailer, but. Yeah, and so that's kind of where we've been, and we're 6, 7, 8 months out, and we just have like the main through line, not on purpose, the main through line in the story in there, and then all the extra bits and lore and supporting stuff has been written and developed, but it's not, we're gonna wait for the game to be further along to then like put it in the world and feel it out, and so. And I think let the world build itself, I guess, is how our approach is. And I guess that's what I'm saying is that we kind of set it up. We're going to let it kind of we plant the seeds and like kind of water the garden kind of approach with it, with the knowledge of the end goal of like what we know the rules of the world. That's the first thing. We establish the rules of the world, and then a treatment, and then we get there. So
yeah, no, you touched on something that we actually talk about in today's episode, which is the one of the approaches to writing is literally called being a gardener, and literally sowing the seeds of ideas and kind of seeing what grows. You have vague ideas of what that's going to be, but it's just seeing how the world grows in order that those things can be cultivated, and that works really, really well for like bigger stories or long-term stories. So no, it's just fascinating that's again the approach that you've taken, which is great.
I think I probably have the most odd storytelling approach out of anyone here, just because it's layers and layers and layers of puzzle. And so when the game came out, Zardy's Maze, the lore, actually, I'll do a brief recap without spoiling anything, but like there were endings you could get that would give you characters talking that you didn't know who was talking. And you would have to pair those up with the other endings to kind of get an idea of things going on. But then there were also specific things you could do in the game to, and this gets really obscure, would generate codes for other endings. Like, let's say you found a secret way to beat the game, it would give you a secret code. Well, you take that code, you try to figure out, oh, well, is this a cipher? Is all these different things? No, it's actually just a code you enter into YouTube, and it takes you to an unlisted video, right? As someone who breaks games and data mines games and does all that stuff myself, like I know anything that's in the game is fair game. Like someone's going to find it. There's no way they're not going to. They have all the time in the world. And so I had a system where like, okay, you get these codes, they take you to unlisted videos videos on YouTube you cannot find without the code. But then those all had keys on them. And I used YouTube system basically to, if someone could prove in the comment through a video or some other method that they found the ending legitly and did not cheat with video proof, then I would put an end card for an unlisted video that went to my official channel so people know it was an actual true lore bit. Because that same method you could technically abuse too. But that would have these little animated cutscenes. Honestly, those ones were inspired by those little mini games you'd have in Five Nights at Freddy's, where it's like super like 8-bit, like crunchy audio. You're like barely moving along. And that would show things happening in the game world that then people were like, wait, hold on a second. How does this apply to whatever you learn in the game? And then the lowest of deep lore was the ARG. And this is the thing for this is like, if you make something like an ARG or you develop a story that does require your involvement to reward players when they solve things, you're basically surveying your entire fan base and making sure someone's not going to find it or be ready when they do find it. And so I made a crossword puzzle that was in the game you could find, and all the answers to the crossword puzzle were in different games. And so fans of these games who watched my channels and stuff could then go through this crossword puzzle and they can answer things from indie horror. It's like, oh, this character is from Night in the Woods, or this is some other character from a indie horror game or some other type of game. And then there was the lowest rung of the storytelling was there were two answers on this crossword that had to be found in videos that stemmed far beyond people's expectations for how far back the crossword and the ARG could go. The game came out in 2020. The answers were letters, individual letters hidden in darkness in videos that I uploaded in like 2016. And somehow the fan base cracked this. They are super impressive. I was flabbergasted. It was incredible. And then so you have the sleuths that they learned lore that way. They got rewarded with the cutscene. They got rewarded with more tidbits. And then you have the people that push the game to its absolute limits and beat the equivalent of a 1020 or a 5020 in FNAF. And that was, I honestly thought it was impossible. I set up all the rewards for them. I'm like, cool, I'm gonna put this over here. I'm never gonna have to deal with this stuff. There's no way anyone's ever going to beat this legitly. And they proved me wrong. They overcame it, and then once that challenge was beat, they made even harder things to beat. And so all my story was all reward. So it's like the game evolved as players would solve things, and it really kind of fed the community in a way that it kept it exciting for a while. Like you work together to solve this thing. Here's more of the story. And then when Zardy's Cave came out, it was more. It's still convoluted, but it's still more not as convoluted as Zardy's Maze. And so there's more things you're figuring out. And then with the book audio series, there's even more. So it's been evolving, but a strong thing, I think, for storytelling in horror games, especially those who are watching, the smaller your world is, the more interesting your story is. If you've ever watched a show or anything where suddenly the world got bigger, for example, like going from Stranger Things season 1 to Stranger 2. Season 1 was incredible because it was a monster, a house, and oh gosh, don't be there in the dark, right? And the second, it started peeling back the layers. It was still interesting, but you no longer had the intimacy. And horror, I think, can really thrive on intimacy. And once you can use that as a tool to develop your plot, but once you take that away, you can't get it back. So that was kind of the deep dive of what Zardy's Maze was. And my fan base, I'm proud of them, and I thank them for the support, because I don't know how they got through that, but they did.
They always are full of surprises.
I'll jump in. There's some great pieces I'll reference there from you, Horoscope. And it hats off to the way that you think about storytelling and all that. My brain, I don't think, is as sophisticated as some of the other people maybe on this call. So I revert a lot of our story and lore to my team around me, and I have a very awesome team that we bounce ideas around off all the time, because I'm very much like I'm initial idea guy. And then it can easily rabbit hole down into maybe not like the best avenue, but shout out, I'm going to give my plug to our publishers, Digital Pajamas, because they're incredible. They're the most honest and honest people. I'll stop with honest. The most honest people that I've ever come across, and also support Don't Fret. So we have these milestone check-ins. And I've been in development for 2.5 years, and we were getting ready to do this big demo showcase internally. And I had them play it, and they kind of stopped me at the end. They were just like, what did we just watch? And I'm sitting here going, okay, we're a 1.5 years in. I was really excited for you guys to be like, oh, I'm so excited about what's going on. And they just were like, no one's going to understand this. This doesn't make any sense. And I was like, all right, hung up the call, and I'm just like laying on my driveway, and I'm just like, I am the worst storyteller of all time. And I came back the next day, and I was like, okay, let's actually take that feedback and understand what they were getting at. And I play test every 2 weeks with random folks all the time, people who have played it, people who've never played it, all sorts of things. And I, at this point, try to understand the best storytelling comes from a little bit of, you got to have your through line that everybody can kind of understand at a baseline if you're not paying attention to anything. And then you also need to have all the fun stuff that game theory might enjoy, or the rest of the internet might enjoy, that you can expand upon. Because otherwise, then you're kind of just talking to this very small subset of people who are just there to kind of like take it in one ear and out the other. Being able to sort of serve all facets of the community is really tough to do at large scale, right? Don't Fret shaping out to be a 5 to 7 to maybe 8 hour game, which is really not gnarly when we're not doing it in a chapter based way as well. And so, and I'm not even exaggerating, we had the whole game kind of done in three parts. We had a look at it, and it became very apparent that the story didn't make sense to anybody who played because it was too obscure. And I was relying too heavily on people exploring and uncovering. And I just realized that, let's just say 50% of the people who buy the game, they don't want to play it like that. And that's okay. You can't serve everybody like that. And you're not going to be able to have, like, I guess, from what I'm trying to achieve, a 5-hour experience, 6-hour experience. I want people to get to the end and know what they played, not I got to the end and I have no clue what happened. That might serve better in a chapter-based format when it's smaller chunks, but at scale, it's really, really hard to do. So we hired in this incredible writer. His name's Nick Thurston. He's worked on tons of amazing stuff. He has completely taken 2 years of work, reformatted it. We went back to the drawing boards over the past 5 months and now have this really amazing, concise story that if you didn't care to go out and explore, you're going to get the game. But then if you go out and explore all of those really brutal things that are going on that we maybe don't want to show, you'll be able to ingest that and find that and reward the players who do want to go have fun there. So that's been the biggest challenge. And I think the scale of the game has proved to be one of the harder things of that, is that you're going to have it all at once on day one. And the world will have it, and I know there'll be the people that just crush through the night and play it, so you better make sure it makes sense and it's all together.
When I was starting Glitched Out, I did have the initial, like, the whole game basically in my head, like, mapped out, because I've always sort of taken that approach when I was, like, writing films and stuff. Like, I'd write films and try and sell them and stuff back in the day, and I always kind of thought, oh, well, you have to have, you know, the whole idea and the character arcs in your head before you start writing. Otherwise, it becomes very hard to write compelling characters, I think, and a story that seems like it makes sense. Because if you're trying to, like, work it out as you go, like, at least for me, you kind of have to then sort of retcon certain elements, especially if you're doing it as a chapter-based game, because you're potentially years between chapters, and you might think, oh no, I should have thought of this thing. So I always like to have the basic, like, sort of skeleton of the story, like, known, and then it's more of a case, because we were doing a chapter-based game, of working out what goes into each chapter and how much you sort of give away. Like, you don't want to give it away too much too soon, so people can guess the rest of the game potentially like 3 or 4 years before the full thing's out. And luckily, from what people played at Chapter 1, nobody really worked out much of anything from it, apart from, like, one element, which is quite obviously sort of foreshadowed at the end of the first chapter, which is, like, Chip was kind of glitching out and misbehaving. But even people didn't get the reason why that was happening exactly. So that was good. But yeah, we tried to kind of, like, strike a balance. When I was writing it, I was trying to, like, give a lot of, like, little clues away in the notes as to what was going on in the world and the audio logs, but also, like, visual storytelling with, like, the liberation posters and stuff like that, and even just, like, little environmental, like, set dressing things where you could see somebody been painting, like, weird symbols on walls and you'd wonder why, and all that stuff would have been kind of more cleared up the further you get into the game. We had been planning in a Chapter 2 to start doing almost like the FNAF thing, where you have these sort of 16-bit style mini games. It was going to be kind of like a Binding of Isaac style shooter with like text dialogue, and tell the story of Asian Yushinata, who is a character that's referenced, as she's very key to the story. She's referenced in a few audio logs in Chapter 1. It's going to be about her mother and her mother's journey as she went through the sort of local, almost like this facility that the game takes place in. Basically, she was a soldier of that facility, capturing these SCP-type monsters on the colonized planet, and it was going to be about her story, and you'd figure out more about Agent Yushinata by, like, learning about her mother through these video game sections within the game. So we had, like, lots planned for it, but just to kind of, like, talk about the writing process, yeah, I like to have the story planned out before I start, and then it's more about deciding what goes where along the way, and also, like, how much you flesh out certain things. You can come up with new ideas and add to the story, but as long as that, I think, that anyone's starting to write, I think it's important to have that start, middle, end, and the trajectory of each character in your head very well thought out before you start work. Because if you haven't got good characters and a compelling story, kind of like, and it's a narrative game, it's a bit all for nothing, in my opinion.
Yeah,
For sure.
and again, that ties into what we talked about today. Is like, we talked to JT, it was about, and John was about being a gardener. That approach is much more of what is known as an architect style of storytelling, where it's like, I've got the whole thing planned out, and it's really common for movies, so that makes sense, especially for you and, like, your background and all of that sort of stuff. But
it just works for me. It's like, you know, I'm not saying it's a one size fits all.
Yeah.
It's just what works for me personally.
Exactly, and I think that's really cool because it just shows that, like, everyone can make a cool product or a cool game. You don't have to approach it the same way. I think often we can look at, and again, we talk about it today with the FNAF box. A lot of people were looking at how Scott handled that situation through the lens of how they would tell a story. And actually, it's like, just because someone does it differently doesn't mean it's wrong. You can all produce something really, all of you could produce something really high quality, but have these drastically different approaches and have different focuses, and that's a great part of it. But Mason, please, I'd love to hear, because you again, as a chapter system, I'd love to hear what your approach has been to that.
No, that's exactly what I was going to talk about. It is interesting that our games kind of exist in a space where the norm is to have a chapter-based system. This whole, like, specifically horror in the indie space, viewers and consumers are okay with, hey, if we're going to get content more often in smaller chunks, we're willing to work with you on that. And what that allows for is the ability to look back at what players are getting of the story and what they're missing and what they're finding and what they're not, and being able to adapt a bit of how much you show in future chapters and future content. Like for us, we have the entire main points of all of Indigo Park written down and done. We know what characters are going to be doing what. We know their character arcs. We know what they're going to go through. We know how the game ends. And because of that, we're able to put details of stuff people might not know about until.
Alright, give me a while. There's a half an hour left into this video, so give me a while. I'm gonna go, uh, toilet. Sorry.
chapter 4 into chapter.
Alright, I'm back. There's like 30 more minutes left. Right now it's 4:19 a.m. on the 12th of January 2026. So, yeah, by the time I finish, it'll be 5 a.m. Hopefully, not 5 a.m. yet, lah. Yeah, okay.
Know what characters are going to be doing what. We know their character arcs. We know what they're going to go through. We know how the game ends. And because of that, we're able to put details of stuff people might not know about until chapter 4 into chapter 1. And it really won't make sense that that's what you saw until that chapter. And I think the beauty of being able to have this chapter-based system is that if people aren't catching on to what you're wanting them to catch on to, you can be a little bit more forward. Or if they're catching on a little bit too quick, you know that you can kind of draw back and not give as much information. You guys talked about like ARGs and secret YouTube channels and stuff. There are like secret YouTube channels for Indigo. It's stuff that people might not have found yet, or they won't find until future chapters, but that stuff is being generated and exists. And it's nice because we can introduce stuff like we just added like a little symbol language that our community is figuring out now. And that's something we did just with an update to chapter 1, because we felt like, hey, there's some more story that we can give you now before future chapters come out. And the whole reason we're able to do that is we have the major plot points set. We know what we want. Of course, there's going to be story changes depending on the chapter. Like, we don't know every single detail for chapter 3 yet because we're not developing it. But we know what major characters will show up and what they'll do and their impacts on other characters and impacts on the player. And really, that's exciting to us because there's stuff that people are theorizing about that they don't even have the full story as to what's going on there yet. And it's going to be cool to see our community grow and figure this out for themselves.
Absolutely. No, that's so, again, ties into just that thing of like different approaches, mix and matching of stuff. It's great. And yeah, going back, my ears have now pricked up because you've said there are secret channels. I'm like, I must find them and like decode this message. It's great. But with that, we now get to jump a little bit to a new teaser. Well, a teaser that was, I think, shown at the IGN Xbox event. Is that right, Russell? Rocket?
That's correct. Yeah, really excited about that. We can talk about it afterwards.
Absolutely. So please, let's roll that clip.
No way, there are 3 different trailers in one single video. In one single live stream, sorry. Let's start. Xbox. From creator of Rocket Music.
I was wondering when you'd finally find time to pay me a visit.
Hello?
You're in Harmonic Heights, Fred. The school. Things always look strange here. Find a way to get out of there.
Hey, you. What are you doing here? We're not supposed to be out in the halls at night, but I couldn't help myself.
What are these things?
I don't know, Fred. Nobody does.
No!
Don't look so frightened, my boy. You've come to a rather difficult passage, I'm afraid. The object of your desire is just ahead. And Fred, she knows you're here. Now run along.
Don't bet, it's a world of mystery. Don't bet, come along and you will see. Don't bet, doesn't matter what you wanna be. And even though you're gonna die, don't bet.
Okay, let's be honest, it was a bit scary. And then, at the end, the light-hearted music is like, the contrast!
And there we have it. What a trailer. I honestly love that trailer, and not just because there is a very handsome voice actor in the credits.
I don't know if anybody caught that, but
they'll now be going back and checking. They'll see what we're talking about. But please, Rocket, take it away.
You know what? Since Tom mentioned someone's gonna go back and check it, I'll do the honors. The credits. Uh-oh.
And Fred, she knows you're here.
The jump scare.
Now run along.
Don't fret, it's a world of mystery. Don't fret, drum along and you will see. Don't fret, doesn't matter what you wanna be, and even though you're gonna die, don't fret.
Hey! Dapper Mr. Tom! I'm gonna guess that's you. I saw that!
And there we have it. What a trailer. I honestly love that trailer, and not just because there is a very handsome voice actor in the credits.
I don't know if anybody caught that, but
I got that.
They'll now be going back and checking. They'll see what we're talking about. But please, Rocket, take it away.
You wouldn't know the back and forth on the alignment on that last end screen that went back and forth with the publishers. Yeah, thank you. I'll first start out with a shameless plug. We are very close to 10,000 wish lists on Steam. Anybody who's watching right now, please go to Steam. You can download the demo. It was made a year ago. It's free. Wishlist the game. Leave us a review. We have 120 very positive ratings, and it would mean the world to us to get to 10,000. So thank you so much if you do. On that note, this is also, I guess, my official announcement. We are coming to Xbox. Hopefully other consoles as well. But this was a decision we made pretty recently, and we're really thankful that IGN had us and that Xbox had us at that conference. It's really special, especially in a world where we had no idea what we were setting out to do. So, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Don't Fret and where we're going and what you guys can expect. So, Don't Fret was originally supposed to be like a chapter-based horror game. When I first started, it was supposed to be, a 40-minute game, a musically inspired game. We talked a little bit about what our niche and focus was going to be, and I looked at games like Poppy Playtime, FNAF, and Indigo Park, and Bendy, and what was their focus, right? And with a musical background and a love for horror, I was like, well, let's do something that nobody's ever done and really have a musical world. It's not a music game, so I knew that I didn't want to alienate people who didn't know how to play music. I wanted to make a horror game that blurred the lines between a game made for kids and a game made for adults that everybody can enjoy, that also has so much musicality to it. I mean, I think of Don't Fret like a Tim Burton horror land, if you will. There are over 25 characters you'll meet in the game. Everybody has a unique horror sort of theme and twist. There's 15 plus voice actors in the game. It's very special. One of the things I think I don't talk about this enough because I don't want to just focus our game strictly on the fact that there's so much talent involved in the game. But one of the things that's really important to me, when I was working on Rocket Music and being, I guess, more of a young hustler trying to get my name out there, I would email publishers and game developers every time we did a song about their game. One of those was Tiny Build and Hello Neighbor way back when. And, Luke Burtis got back to me and he was like, hey, man, this is cool. You want to do like a OST for the game and, have it be on Steam? And we were like, yes, it's awesome. That's what we've been trying to do. So I set out originally to kind of take my community with me and say, I'm going to dedicate however many people want to be on this album alongside the game, I want to do that. And so Don't Fret, I've brought in every single voice actor in Don't Fret is either a nerdcore artist or a YouTube community of indie horror adjacent. and it's been really, really special. So it's one of those things where I feel like it's a game made by the community, and I'm trying to help everybody out as well by getting their names not just tucked away in the background, but these are collectible CDs that you can find. There's over 25 songs, original songs that are never before heard, made specifically for this game and can be listened to outside of the game to help you enjoy the game after you're playing the game and really just have the longevity in a different medium, which is really, really fun and really special. And I hope is appreciated by everybody involved. And yeah, so yes, you can expect tons of musical puzzles, musical themed horror creatures, and crazy environments and cinematic experiences that hopefully you've just never seen before, and you'll be jaw dropped when you see it. And it's pretty brutal, so I hope we get that teen rating.
Absolutely. No, very, very excited. I loved covering the demo. I can't remember when that was. Was that last year? Must have been.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's very, very exciting. It's so fun to get to hear so many voices, and I'm not just saying that because my voice is going to be in it. I'm very excited for Stipendium crushed his part in this, which I'm very, very excited to see how these other voices play out. Right, so we're getting close to the end of things, so we're going to do some quick fire round. I've got here
Very close to the end of things. 20 more minutes left.
my team here has been very, very wonderful and has printed out a couple of questions from the community. So I'd love just to go quick fire round with you guys, just through some of these to answer some of the questions that they've had for you. Both by, we're going to say, so Flair Toga 76 and by Mindy Potatoes. They've both asked, what has been the hardest part of development besides doors?
Okay. Lockers as well, I'll just add, but that's kind of doors. It's that was our big one, but it's also the AI of the pathfinding of the enemy. In fact, in Glitched Out, I'll keep this short because we go around quick, but the second enemy, a lot of people complained, all it is an enemy that pops out the wall and you flash it with the flashlight as you go by, and the camera, and it kind of goes back in. And yeah, I agree, not the most compelling enemy design, but it was meant to originally, they were all meant to move around, slither around, but because it was a maze and it was very tight corridors and we had this snake-like enemy, it just wouldn't have worked. And we were just it's going to get into the rooms the player needs to get to, and we just had to stick it in the wall in the end. I was just just put it in the wall, we'll have it as pop out, it's fine. We've got to finish this up now, but it still took us a month to get that right because it was being funny. But so basically, yeah, AI enemies. I'll say that.
Yeah, I think kind of managing a team and timelines and stuff like that. There's so many natural bottlenecks that it's just it's kind of threading the needle in terms of making everything efficient on different areas of the game. I think the hardest thing about game design or game development is that there's 6 to 8 different disciplines. You have sound, you have kind of story, cinematics, you have the technical side, you have level design, and then and then there's a handful of other things. They all need to come together and mix in real time for an end product, but also when you're creating it, timing that all out and coordinating 10 to 15 people is very hard. And the last thing I'll say is the common kind of cliche is it's a miracle any video game gets made, and I truly understand and see that and experience that day to day. It's it's a miracle everything comes together because there's so many moving parts, and that goes back to what Russell was saying about how film is comparatively easy. Because film is one thing; it is film. That's one vertical, and there's it breaks down there. But making a game is 6 different movies at once. I guess kind of the cheap comparison I'd make.
Yeah, kind of took mine there, bud. But I'll kind of expand out in a different way. As far as communication within your own team, that is something that I think a lot of people will struggle with, and it's something, especially if your team is comprised of a bunch of friends, being able to be critical of each other's work and being able to have those conversations with your artist on how to get stuff done the way that you want it without completely destroying their morale and being super mean to them about it. So finding that middle ground, that's something I learned a lot of in my graphic design courses when we had to go there and rip into people's work. But figuring out the middle ground between being the boss and being like a friend for your team, and making sure that everything runs smoothly and keeps the production going.
Thinking like a player. I think for me, it's my job for the content I make on YouTube, breaking games. Like I really have to understand, like, oh, did the developer think of this? Can I break the game like this? If I jump on this table, can Ban get me? Oh no, he can't. Oh, the whole game broke. Like, it's stuff like that where, and it was mentioned earlier about like a film. Like a film, you curate this thing. It is seen from one perspective. A game, someone can walk into a room. They can go left, right, straight. They could just like, I don't want to be in this room. They turn around and go out, right? So you have to anticipate every single thing that a player can do and the order they could possibly do it in. And I think that can be challenging for people because if you're not thinking like that, when you see a player do something that you did not intend, it might break your heart a bit because you're like, oh wait, why aren't they seeing the thing I want them to do? Oh wait, why is everyone going over here? And so play testing obviously is an important thing for that. But really, I think that's what makes making games difficult when there is multiple mechanics and things you can do, is because everything is an opportunity for a player. And it's really hard to nail down exactly what they're going to do or what most people will do. And even if you do that, then you have the speedrunners who are going to make you question everything, which is great to be humble about them, right? It's an experience, but it's definitely a different mindset. And I think that's also what makes going from YouTube to game dev in our shoes a little easier, because we already had to navigate how do people perceive this video, or it's a similar skill set in terms of perception. So it did make that leap a little easier.
Absolutely. Russell, Rocket, sorry.
Am I last? Okay, cool.
So.
Yeah, I think, I don't want to say managing a team again, but I will say the hardest part for me has been time management. We all run other careers and other day-to-days that keep the lights on, and we're still putting out the.
So ultimately speaking, they still have their own proper job to feed their family, to keep the lights on, the water bills, the electrical bills, the transportation, the medical bills, the simple, basic 3 meals per day stuff.
Same amount of content week after week, and so it's essentially 2 full-time jobs, and then my main job with Rocket is only involving really my partner Vinny, but then I've got Don't Fret, and I manage a team of 12 people, and one of them is in the UK, one of them is in Thailand. I've got a bunch on East Coast, Central, and Pacific. I am up at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I stay up until 1 or 2. I don't have time to play video games or enjoy the recreational side of things anymore. And I have a family and 2 kids. It's like, I think that people just think that these games come out of a void and a vacuum, and then they just are upset if it's not exactly what they wanted, right? It's like, well, again, it's a miracle that you get anything, because how many times I want to quit and I'm done. And the games that you see come out that overcome that are from a small team, just know that they went through hell to make it happen for you. And I ask everybody's like, just be gracious and thankful that you got something, even if it's not perfect, because it's killing everybody here more than anyone knows. And we're just trying to make a great product for the community to enjoy and play. And so that's really that's the day-to-day challenge, and then expand that over the course of however long it took to develop the game. It's 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. That's a long time, right? So that's what I'll say on that.
Amazing. So from I've actually just seen, I'm just going to take one straight from the chat there, Pecan Games, who I believe are the developers of Bunny Graveyards.
Yep.
How do you guys deal with scope creep or feature creep?
Badly on my end, because I was talking about that, wasn't I? It was meant to be 20 minutes. It ended up as a 90-minute game. It took us, well, it was meant to take us 3 minutes. It took us 18. So yeah, I didn't factor it very well at all. But I think that's what I was saying earlier, is to anyone that's maybe starting out and they maybe can go in with better sort of foresight than someone like myself, please have a plan and decide very early on, this is what the game is going to be and this is what it's not going to be. And then stick to that plan as much as is humanly possible while making the game. You'll save yourself a lot of pain and extra time and like wasted time. So that's what I would say to that.
I think there's two things. Oh, you go ahead. I'll go up to you.
I feel like it's gonna happen. So it's a matter of kind of, you know, just accepting like that kind of kill your babies kind of saying, like, nothing's too precious, be ready to cut content. I feel like it's easy to get excited. It's easy to have big dreams. And I think, you know, you don't want to like, you don't want to like aspire to like what's attainable, you know. Typically with anything you do, you kind of like, you have a goal and you're going to try and hit that goal. And, you know, then like things kind of come around on the side that you realize, oh, this is necessary for that. So I think it's just taken on the fly, be ready to like cut content or understand like I can have this new feature I want, but it might mean I need to not do this other feature that hasn't been started yet. You know, I'm gonna have to cut that, or I'm gonna have to cut a level, or cut a section of the game. So that's my advice: is just if it may just happen, and be ready to cut content if something really speaks to you that you must add.
Piggybacking off
like
that,
fight that. Go ahead, sorry.
I know you're good. Piggybacking off that, I think there's two things that come to mind. Mechanics. When you add more mechanics, you're multiplying your dev time exponentially by all the different bugs you have to do. I can't tell you how many different times because we have a few different mechanics. You have crouching, you have, I guess you could call sliding, you have what's called a hard fall, you have rock climbing, you have mantle system, chopping, you have an axe you chop stuff with. There's going to be a light you can use that Zardy's Maze fans are familiar with. A lot of mechanics, right? And there's even more that aren't here. Oh, growing plants, right? All these things, they can all play with each other, but it can create insane amount of scope creep when you come up with a cool idea, like, oh, this is really cool for this room or this area, but then you realize, like, okay, how do I carry this throughout the rest of the game? But two, is this going to break something in the future? And so it can, and alongside that, I will say the other part of that is managing your game's timeline with hype and your community is hyped for something. Like you put something out and they're expecting, you know, something to kind of top the last thing. It can be very dangerous in some ways because I'll use Poppy Playtime for an example. Chapter 1 is 30 minutes. Chapter 4 is like 24 hours long. There's a difference in terms of how long it takes to get through those, right? And so the hype got bigger and bigger with each chapter. And so each chapter had to deliver bigger things. And when you come back and play that as a cohesive game, well, that caused problems for people because the chapters aren't evenly spaced out. Like if you pop open a book and read a book, you can probably expect chapter 1 and 2 to be the same length as chapter 8 or 9. But when you get, so that's something where with scope creep, I think hype can force your hand sometimes, and you have to be willing to be like, okay, yes, it may not be as hype, but to maintain the integrity of the game, but two, your original vision, you have to be mindful not to dip into it and let it control what you should do.
Absolutely. I think that's some fantastic advice for everyone. And with that, I'm very, very excited, guys, because I get to have my Jeff Keighley moment. Because I believe, JT, this is the premiere.
Oh, come on! There's a fourth one! 4个知道吗？1、2、3、4 1, 2, 3, 4 My goodness! Bruh! Okay, I'm looking forward to it.
Of this trailer.
Oh, to be fair, literally standing on the shoulders of giants. In this case, the game tiers.
About to show.
Yeah, it's been shown to a limited live audience. That was a while ago. So this is it. It's like this is where we open up the can of worms. So to speak.
This is it. We're opening up the can of worms. So please, everyone at home, please enjoy this world premiere of the Terrible Lizards trailer. Hit it, Fish.
but we have dolphins dinosaurs. Come on down today. Your Jurassic journey.
Jurassic dinosaur. A human skull. Terrible lizards. Okay. Questions? Some questions. I'm sorry. Question number 1. So, what is with the human skull? Question number 2. Jurassic? I don't think humans were alive back then. So you're gonna bring back clones of dinosaurs, I guess? And number 3. What happened to that place? Is it something like Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, where it was supposed to be a theme park and things went terribly wrong? I don't know. Hopefully that can be answered. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
And there we have it. I was fortunate enough. Yes, claps all round. Absolutely. No, I was fortunate enough to get to play the demo of this at PAX West. John, you were very kind and let me crash your booth to go and play this. And guys, I have to tell you, I am very, very excited for this game. But please, John, tell us more.
Yeah, sure. So Terrible Lizards is a first-person platforming dinosaur horror thriller game. It takes place in the early 90s. You play as Jordan, a college student who's road tripping from Chicago to LA for college. A car breaks down outside this roadside attraction. Jordan goes in, and things kind of happen, and it goes from there. It's been a game we've been working on for about 2.5 years. We're looking to launch it in.
Alright, so when you talk about roadside attractions, I've been to Australia and there are reptile islands, reptile parks. The roadside attractions, I can say there's a zoo, just zoo, I guess, but it's super big to the. Okay, there are zoos in Singapore, there are bird parks in Singapore, there are safari in Singapore, but because Singapore is an island nation, a city island nation, so literally right next to those parks or right next to those places are shopping malls or are next to high-rise buildings. Roadside, he mentioned roadside attractions, so probably it's going to be forest after massive fields of land. No high-rise buildings, just land or grass or trees, something like that, or hills or mountains. It's going to be interesting because it brings back recent memory. I literally just went to Australia actually 1 month ago. Right now I'm filming the 12th of January. Is it 1 month ago? No. 1 month and 1 week ago. 5 weeks ago. Yeah, 5 weeks ago I was in Australia. Family trip. Thank you so much.
Probably July next year. It'll be about a 4 to 6 hour experience, single player. And again, first person platforming. So think Mirror's Edge is probably the most common example. But as you saw, our monster is a monster. We do have mascots in it, and there's kind of a love letter element to the game with the first level. And we're being pretty open about this because we don't want to market a product and then people get something they don't expect. But it's kind of a bait and switch and love letter to mascots.
He makes a very good point. The under deliver, over deliver. This under promise, over deliver. Under promise, over deliver.
So horror games, but it definitely flips on its head, and you're running from monsters, like genuine dinosaur body horror monsters. And so we have 3 of them. One of which you saw is based off of Dilophosaurus. The other 2, based off of, we call it the Brontosaurus because in the 90s, that's what all I heard was a Brontosaurus. And I'm sure dino paleo nerds are going to have opinions on what it's called, but that's take it to the time and place. And then Allosaurus, and they're pretty awesome monster creations. That was something we really wanted to lock in. So we worked with RJ Palmer, who's best known for the kind of realistic Pokemon. He worked with Detective Pikachu to design those. So we wanted to go. We just invested a lot of time and put a lot of money and time into these monsters, getting them right, making them really cool. And so, we're going to lead the way marketing this game over the next however many months with that Dilophosaurus, and then we'll figure out how much we want to tease the other two, but they're really cool. Really cool takes and spins on dinosaurs, and we love dinosaurs. Everyone on the team has some kind of infatuation with them, and hope it comes through the game. But ultimately, we're making a game we want to see be made. Like, there's not dinosaurs as a baseline are underserved as a thing in games, and so dinosaur horror itself, it's few and far between. So we wanted to kind of fill that gap. We wanted to have a fun game that was fun to play, where people could express themselves through playing the game, explore, and I guess I'll finish off with saying, our kind of log line for like what the game will feel like when you play. I think it's kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's meets Mirror's Edge for the first level, and then it kind of quickly transitions to kind of like Alien Isolation, Mirror's Edge, and Five Nights at Freddy's for the rest of the game. So, but yeah, that's the game, and a big shout out to the team who's in the chat here. Got a wonderful team, and truly a pleasure working with everyone and kind of doing this all together. It's everyone on the team's first game except for our writer. So I'm pretty proud of what we're doing here, and really looking forward to putting this trailer out here. As soon as this stream's over, I'm going to start publishing and getting everything out. So the wider world
Dude,
can
can I
see
just
it.
say, like, the end of that trailer, like, genuinely freaked me out when I saw the face. I've been wanting to say this since it ended. Like, it got me. I was like, what the? I wasn't expecting it. So you're doing a good job with the monsters. It just freaked me out. Yeah, I was sat here the whole time, like, wanting to say that because I was like, that was weird. So
Yeah.
good job.
It's really good. It's unexpected, and again, I remember playing getting to play the demo, and the twists and turns in this one's are great, and I think you guys in chat are going to absolutely love this when it comes out. So remember, it's Terrible Lizards, that is wishlistable on Steam, and remember, all these other guys have games on either available to download chapters, or that will be wishlist. So Don't Fret has a demo, but is wishlistable on Steam as well. You've got Chapter 1 of Indigo Park is available for download. Glitched Out is available for download as well. Horoscope Zardes is on Steam, isn't it? I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah, Zardy's Maze is on Steam. Zardy's Cave is also on Steam.
There we go.
On Steam.
There you go. So go and download those and look forward to the audiobook that's coming out later. And this, guys, I think we're going to have a very, very good 2026 with the rate that this is all panning out. And I'm very excited because you guys you guys keep me in business. You guys
Same.
Stuff.
These guys keep me in business too.
Exactly. So I'm very excited, but I think there's just a bunch of very, very awesome games. Thank you guys so much for.
As in, literally, the game theorist is gonna make videos about their games. So literally keeping him in business.
For talking to us again.
If not, it's gonna be more FNAF.
Again today. It's been so awesome to have you all on.
I'm not wrong.
Some of you for the first time, and I'm sure, guys in chat, if you don't know these people or you haven't seen them before, please do go and follow them. We'll have all the links down in the description so that you can go and follow them on YouTube and various places like that. Definitely worth.
And then it's like once per year, I guess. Okay, so there's 52 weeks in a single year. Let's say aga 50 videos per year from the game theorists. Let's make it 40 because sometimes they miss uploads here and there. Sometimes they'll be busy, schedule clash. And sometimes they make compilation videos. So let's make it 40 videos. Okay, not 45. 45 videos in a single year. All the 45 videos confirm guaranteed plus chop one Pokemon video. One Pokemon video every year, or one Pokemon video every 2 years from the game theorists. It's a huge franchise, Pokemon.
Checking out JT Music and Rocket Music will also be on Spotify and all the listening platforms as well. So please do go and check out their stuff. Thank you guys again, all of you who've been here. Thank you so much. It really means a lot that you guys came on and talked about this. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's been great.
Thank you.
of course. But with that, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Remember, you can also go and get your GamerSupps today at gamersupps.gg/game theory for 10% off if you use code game theory. So please go and do that. But as always, guys, remember, at the end of the day, it's all just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
Alright, so there's still like 29 seconds left in the video. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming over to the video, and I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you to all the guests involved in this video. You guys did a great job, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Thank you so much once again. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. Thank you so much. Touch my heart. Thank you. Hope to see you in my next video. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, follow. Thank you so much. Subscribe.